Hello.
Thanks.
How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on our second podcast, the Folsom City Lifestyle Podcast. We're so happy to have you. Leyla Jaworski, owner, founder, Design Shop Interiors, and the shop.
Yes.
Super excited to have you here. We had you in our March issue, and you are on the cover, so we've got so many things to unload with you. But first, tell me a little bit about you and your history.
So I've been in Folsom since I was in 8th grade, with the exception of about 12 years in New York. But I came back at the end of 2010. I graduated Folsom High School in 1993. When my New Yorker husband and I decided to come back to California, it just made sense to come home. And so it's hard to believe we've been back for almost 14 years now.
That's awesome. So you've seen Folsom change so much.
When I first moved back from New York, I had to use a GPS basically to go anywhere because there was just so much, like so many neighborhoods, so much commercial. I didn't know where anything was.
How much has the high school changed since then?
My old high school is a junior high. Now so when I was in school, there was one high school, one junior high. So the old Folsom High School is now junior high. And my friends have kids who've all gone there.
That's funny. And so New York, time spent in New York was super fun. That's where you met your husband, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Love New York. I went out there to be an international flight attendant for American Airlines. And then that pesky 9/11 happened and sort of changed everything. I left the airlines after that, but I did stay in New York for many years after that.
Where's your favorite place you've traveled? Internationally.
I did a lot of South America and the Caribbean, and I love beach weather. Mm-hmm. So I would have to say anywhere in South America.
So if you're going on vacation, you are going to a beach then. I love it.
Not always. I mean, but it's usually now, my little boy is just so into his cousins in New York that I feel like we actually haven't had a vacation other than New York in many years. Mm-hmm. But we get plenty of beach time when we go there.
What a fun place for a teenager to go. He's 13, 14?
Gonna be 13.
Nice. Yeah. I love it. Tell me about your background in design and how kind of Design Shop Interiors came to be.
So my resume is really funny. International flight attendant, running nightclubs in New York, and then now I have an interior design firm and a furniture store. So there's really not a path that makes any sense. I sort of say design kind of picked me. I'm actually a college dropout. Don't have a business degree, don't have a degree at all. Did not go to design school, never took a design class in my life. And just, I had got into real estate many years ago, and that was kind of a natural stepping stone. And that's where I realized, I'm really good at walking into a room and saying, do this, do that, let's get this in order. And then when we came back from New York, my girlfriend was the vice president of one of the largest house flipping companies in Sacramento, because that was late 2010 when flipping had already kind of peaked at that point. But they hired me to be their project manager, and I did it for a year. We flipped about almost 200 houses in a year.
Wow.
So I was a project manager, which kind of got me back into construction and, just back into kind of that space when I had been in New York and didn't know anybody in that space in California. And when they decided to close up the company, I was lucky that I was in a position that I didn't have to work. I had stayed home with my son. And my husband goes, why don't you give this design thing a chance? He's like, people call you all the time and ask you to do stuff and you say no. And I said, all right. And I went into it literally, did not know what I was going to charge people. I had never interned. I had never had any experience with a design firm. So I didn't know what I was doing. And I just said, I'll figure it out. And I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. And, 10 years later, we've got a big firm. We've got the store. I've been on HGTV. We have had countless magazines and just this incredible team in business.
Look at you. Such a success story. I love that. Tell me, if you have advice for anyone up and coming, right? You said you were dropout, didn't finish college, that type of thing. Tell me how you kind of overcame the adversity and the objections you might see from, applying to jobs and they say, well, you're not a college graduate. Like, how do you overcome all of that?
That's kind of difficult because I have such an unusual path. I never tried to get jobs with other firms, or it was always, I'm going to do this on my own. And actually when the I knew that I was leaving the flipping business and I was contemplating starting my own. A friend of mine who owns a really large staging company in the area, we had worked with him in a real estate capacity and he said, come work with me. I'd love for you to do this. And it was really hard because you're looking at the security of a paycheck and somebody else paying you and that all of that versus starting this thing on your own that you have no idea. And again, I was lucky that I had the security of my husband and his career. So it wasn't that I was fearful to pay the rent at least. But there was just something in me that was like, you got to try this, like,
Yeah.
just try it. And so I told him no, which was a hard. And then I just kind of kept doing it. But, even in my own business, when we're hiring designers, I might have a long list of qualifications. A degree is never one of them. I would say, at one point, our firm, we had more undegreed girls than girls who had gone to design school. Now it's about 50-50. We've actually kind of tightened up the team a little bit. And it's not that I don't put a value on that. I mean, having a degree is incredible. There are things that they know that I don't, technical aspects, a lot of drawing, things like that. But I don't think a degree is what defines your talent. And we can teach people the things that we need them to learn that they might have learned in school. Yeah. We can't teach them talent. You either have it or you don't.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because what you all do in design, I am a college graduate, but I can't do anything that you all do. I just don't have that eye. That's so unique.
Well, what's really interesting, and again, I didn't know this because I didn't go to design school, but we started hiring people who had, and I started learning about it. It's very commercial heavy. So I know from my experience when young people are reaching out to me because they want jobs and they want to go into the residential field. They want to do what we do, the home renovations, the decorating. You don't really learn that in traditional design school. It's very commercial heavy. Like they might come out of it and they know how to do a technical drawing for an HVAC plan, which I couldn't do to save my life. But they also don't know some of the very basic things about home renovation.
Yeah. So if I were looking to renovate my home, what would I do first? So I'm like, okay, I've seen Design Shop Interiors. I know they do good work. I'm going to give you a call. What do I need to know? What do I need to say? What do I need to ask?
We think that the designer should be your first call. I think a lot of people, when they go into this, they think, I'm going to call the contractor, and maybe they call a few. And you, as the homeowner, you still don't have a defined scope of work. You don't know what you don't know. And so they have contractors come in and everybody kind of walks around going, oh yeah, well, what if we did that? And maybe we do this and that would be kind of cool. And there's nothing defined to it. And then you get some ballpark number from a contractor, but he doesn't know that you want a $200 square foot Ansax tile, not 99-cent Home Depot tile, which is what he probably put in his allowances. So when we come in, we really help people define the scope of work, not only for the contractor, but for us. What are you hiring us to do? Everything is really dialed in. Here's our scope of work. Here's what we're doing. Certain jobs, it's great to bring a contractor in at the beginning. If it's just a simple bathroom or a straightforward kitchen, but if we're moving walls and is this structural, and it's good to have that contractor come in at the beginning so that as we're designing, we know, oh, we're not going to take that wall out because that's a $30,000 beam and they don't have that in their budget. So every job is a little bit unique, but we do think hiring the designer is the first step that makes the most sense.
Interesting. And then do you all have preferred contractors that you work with, or?
We do.
Okay.
But nobody's held to that. I explained we are not a design build firm, which means we come with the contractor. We have a list of contractors that we've worked with for years, and we recommend different contractors for different types of jobs.
Nice.
But some people call and they say, hey, I have my architect, I have my builder, I'd like you to join that team, and we're happy to do that too.
Oh, I love that. What has been your favorite project that you've done?
That I've done personally or the firm has done?
Let's go both.
Personally, I haven't designed in like 5 years. The only thing that I've designed in 5 years was the house for my HGTV pilot. So we'll put that aside. That was just a fun experience. I mean, to say that you did that was a fun experience. But in terms of our clients, that's so hard because sometimes the job is your favorite because you love the people. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just got connected to the people and you just adore them as a family. And then other times, like it's just a dream project. We actually we have a project that we call the Nevada City Tiny Home. This house is under 1,000 square feet. The family downsized. Jada was the lead designer. It's about to be shot for a national magazine, and it's the cutest little cottage in Nevada City that you've ever seen. It's not the big mansion.
Love it.
And the family was just so wonderful. And so I think everyone kind of has a connection to that one.
That would be my husband's ideal, a tiny home, minimal stuff.
I
And
live in
it's-
my house is 1,200 square feet. I live in a
couldn't.
tiny home.
I couldn't do it. I have too much stuff. I couldn't. Okay, tell me about the shop.
The shop is our brick and mortar. 5 years ago, I had this harebrained idea that I wanted to open a retail store. And it made sense. And we took the leap and we started with a very tiny store in Folsom that was maybe 2,000 square feet if we were lucky. And then 2 years ago, we moved into a 7,600 square foot store in Granite Bay. And we are about to break through the wall and take the other 10,000 square feet next door.
That's so impressive. And I've heard you go on trips to source your items and you find them in the craziest, most wonderful places and they're all unique. I get in trouble every time I go. My husband's like, "You're going to go spend money, aren't you?" Yeah. If I go in there, I'm going to find something I need to buy.
You know, the shop is an extension of our brand. It's this physical representation of what we do in people's homes. And the fact is, not everybody's hiring a designer. We get it. But we wanted to have a space where, you know, people look at one of our photos and go, "Where'd you get that? Where'd that come from?"
Mhm.
So we said, let's open this store. I have guys from Turkey, from Africa that will show up in the parking lot with vans full of stuff that I'm pulling out. We try to go to Round Top at least once a year on a vintage buying trip. This past October, I went and I brought back a 53-foot semi-truck trailer of things, which is why I need the extra 10,000 square feet.
That's amazing.
So we work, I work really hard to curate this collection of things that you're not going to find in the typical home stores around here.
And you definitely don't. I can vouch for that. We had our holiday party at your location, which was wonderful.
It
Thank
was
you,
great.
by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
So just gorgeous backdrop, gorgeous furniture, lots of shopping. And it truly is a unique experience. Anything from, candles to whole
Housewares, textiles,
housewares.
lighting. I mean, if
Yeah,
you want it for your
tables.
house, it's there.
I love that. And so you're expanding. What is going to go in the expansion? So just more furniture, more decor?
It's definitely more furniture focused. It's going to be a different experience. Sort of there's an opening that we're doing between the walls. It's not wide open, but there's like a 10-foot span to connect the two spaces. And when you walk into the shop, as you know, it's the florals and it's beautifully styled and it's layered and it feels like a home. Well, what a lot of people don't realize is how much stuff I have in warehouses, I have in our inventory room. I mean, I just have so much stuff that is hiding. And as crazy as it sounds, when we took that space, I passed up on 7,600 square feet a year before we took it because I was like, no way, this is too much. But now 2 years in, I have all this stuff sitting in warehouses. And we said, let's open that up. Anytime I do a warehouse sale or we open up our inventory room, people go bananas. And so we said, let's just kind of make that a permanent experience. So the racks of unique one-of-a-kind pottery that we have hiding, all of that is coming out, all of the vintage, but it will not be that layered, styled experience. So you're going to walk through that doorway, and it's going to just totally shift an experience.
Oh, that's fun. And I love when we go in there, if you have an idea in your head, you can talk to one of your staff members, one of your team members, and they will help you style it too, right?
Yep.
Like I have a picture of my mantle. Like help me look for things that might make sense there.
Yep. We have, and we're when we hire, so the full service design team is separate from the retail team. But when we do hire for the retail team, one of my requirements is that they put together an inspiration design board. We just want to see that they have a taste level. It's not just any old retail store that anybody can work at. You have to be able to integrate to the brand, because the fact is when people walk in our door, they think everyone is a designer. They think this is what you guys do. Everyone here must be able to do that. And they can't. But we do want to make sure that they have a level of designability. And I'm actually bringing on a new position. She started about a month ago. She's going to be a designer based in the store. So she will do very different things than our full service does. But I think she's going to fill this gap that I felt like was missing between somebody hiring us for full service and somebody walking in the door who just needs some help.
Let's talk a little bit about budgeting for a home renovation or a design project. I know the answer to this is going to be prices vary, right? Depending on the scope of work that you all come up with.
Yeah.
But what kind of budget should someone be prepared to spend when renovating a home or creating a new design?
Budgets. I have a budget conversation with people on the very first call that we ever have. Because we're in California. I don't know if people are going to hear this outside of California. If they do, they're going to be shocked at our numbers, I'm sure. We all know everything's just more expensive here. But the fact is, when someone is looking at our portfolio and they're saying, I'm going to call them, the kind of projects that you see in our portfolio come with a certain kind of price tag. And there are designers who design different levels of things. And I'm very honest with people that we are not the firm who value engineers. Those projects that you see come with a certain kind of price tag. And if you're going to hire us, you have to have that type of budget to get that kind of result. So when, and I feel like in the last couple of years, 4 years ago or 5 years ago when I was talking to people, I would say a kitchen started at 100. Now I say it starts at 150. There are certain things like an appliance package. I mean, we've had projects where the appliance package is in the six figures. So it really just depends. But I have these baseline conversations with people and I say this is, a kitchen's going to start at 150. A master bath is probably going to start at 75. Even just that hall bath, not fancy. And that is somewhere we can value engineer a little bit. That's going to be at least 30 walking in the door. And a lot of people fully expect that. And a lot of people are just shocked.
Yeah.
And I have those conversations because I explain to them, look, you're only paying me for my design fees, but we need to know that the budget is there to support the kind of design that we're going to do for you, because the last thing we want is you've invested all this money in us to design this amazing space and you start getting your bids back. They're twice, 3 times what you wanted them to be. And then you're mad at us because you feel like I invested thousands of dollars into a design that I can't execute. So I like to have those conversations up front. And, the fact is, if you are someone who hey, I need a kitchen for, $50,000 or $75,000. I mean, I don't know how you could get that right now with the way prices are, but I want them to know that's just not what we do. And maybe there is somebody who can help you with that.
I love that transparency. I think it's important on both sides, right? I need to be, as a homeowner, transparent with you as to what actually I have to spend and what I'm looking for, and vice versa. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and sometimes we have a project inquiry form on our website, and sometimes people put a number in there, and one of the questions, and sometimes I'll see that number, and it is not even in relation to that scope of work, and then they go, well, I don't know, I just threw that number out there. So they're looking to us to educate them on what things really cost, and when you kind of start to break it down for them, they're like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, you just mentioned me right there. That's me. I'm like, come in here and tell me what I need to do, and then tell me what it's going to cost. Boss me around a little bit. I'm good.
Yeah. And the thing with kind of back to that other question about who do you hire first? The thing that I hate is if somebody calls a contractor in and the contractor, he doesn't know what they want. The second he throws out a number, that's the number that's in their head. It doesn't matter that it's not based in reality, but, oh, just give me that ballpark number. I won't hold you to it. But that's the number that's in your head. So when you get the real number and it's twice that, you're so disappointed or so angry. So I like to avoid that.
Yeah. How much does someone's lifestyle play into the design, right? I'm sure you have these conversations with people. Okay, how many people do you entertain on a regular basis? Where do you typically store things? What kind of storage do you need? Those kind of conversations happen.
We have a really extensive onboarding process. And we send out a questionnaire before we even do the consult, which is before a contract. So we want to see that questionnaire answered before we go into the consultation. So because at that consultation is where we're setting the scope of work. So we've got some information about them as we're walking through the project, and lifestyle is huge. especially when it comes to the interior architecture side, which is everything related to the build of the home. Everybody loves marble. I love that look of marble. But if you're somebody who's going to freak out because it stains or it etched or it requires extra maintenance, or I like the look of unlacquered brass, but I don't like the patina that it's going to develop. Like, we go through all of that type of stuff with them when it comes to furniture. Do you let your cats and your dogs on the furniture? How many kids do you have? So we want to be really thoughtful about the materials that we're placing in the home, because that's great when it's done on day one and it looks amazing. But if we haven't spoken to somebody's lifestyle, what's it going to look like in a year?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What is in the future for you? I mean, big expansion. Obviously, you're very busy now, but do you have any kind of big, bold goals moving forward into the future?
I feel like this is probably the opposite of what I am supposed to say, but I am not one of those vision board goal setting. I'm just not. I sort of let the business speak to me. I let my path sort of unfold. And I think I've gotten really good at just going in the direction that the business takes me. If you would have asked me I didn't have this goal 10 years ago. I would not have even imagined that the business would look like this, but this is just the organic path that it took, and I follow along. I'm there for the ride. So I don't know. What I have found about myself is I am loving the retail side of my business. Because I don't design projects anymore, I have found that that's the buying and the sourcing and all of that. That's my one creative outlet. The other, I have to do all the business side of things. And so I at least get that one creative outlet. But I love seeing people walk into our store and just having their breath taken away. And just, when I'm in the store and so many people come up to me and they're like, oh my God, I want you to know that I love your store so much. And that's just so wonderful to hear. And so I'm just kind of going with it. I mean, 2 years ago when we took this space, I would have never guessed we'd take the 10,000 next door. So I'm just along for the ride.
Listening to your gut, right? Going with the flow.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's talk about Folsom for a second.
Okay.
Where is your favorite place to go out in Folsom?
Sutter Street Steakhouse.
Oh, so good.
It's just a classic.
So good.
The bartenders, like my husband and I, whenever we go, we sit at the bar. They also let our son sit at the bar, which is amazing.
Ooh, good to know.
So, Sal is a bartender that's been there for a million years, and he's just one of those like old school career bartenders. We just love him. And every meal is a great meal, and you'll see us sitting up at the bar playing cards with our little boy and just having a great, relaxing. And you never have a bad meal. And I feel like eating out lately has gotten so expensive.
It really has.
You go to like what you think is the most casual walk-in place, and it's $100. And half the time you leave and you're like, where we go there, and we're always so happy.
Well, I have a hockey player, baseball player. We're very, very on the go. So we can't always cook at home.
Yeah.
And so we stop fast food these days. Like, a meal is $15.
Yeah. You leave for 3 people and it's like $60 of fast food.
At McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd much rather go someplace local and spend that money locally. If you're not shopping at your store, where are you shopping?
For
anything.
Anything?
Yeah.
This is so sad. For my own house, I mean, I buy everything wholesale. So you're not going to catch me like home shopping anywhere else but my resources. Clothing. I'm a plus size girl, so I wish we had some better plus size clothing stores around here, but I do a lot online.
You got Torrid.
Yes. And I go there. Not my fave.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not a big shopper. And I don't know if it's because I have a retail store and I'm so just immersed in it. You would laugh, but I mean, for the longest time, I was so focused on growing the business. I didn't even like have a candle from my own store in the house. And finally one day I was like, okay, we got to pull this together. And I made a list for my husband from the warehouse. I'm like, bring me all of this. And I even had our shop stylists. I'm like, go to my house and fix all the shelves.
Nice. Community involvement. Obviously you're involved. I know your son has played sports. You help, those of us with parties. I know you've helped Sac Reel producers with a party for them.
Yep.
What other kind of community involvement pieces are you doing?
We like to just know everyone from our own community. And pretty much if anybody calls me and they need a donation for a gift basket for a raffle or something like that, I mean, We're always yes. I got to the point where I had to say to people, okay, we have to have some kind of personal connection to them, whether it's a client, someone who regularly shops in the store, some kind of personal connection, because we just were getting these requests all the time. I don't have a lot of time to physically be out there doing volunteer work, which is sad, but I will do whatever I can for my friends in the community that I know do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I see you at a lot of chamber events and events around town, for sure. And I know every time you donate something for a raffle we have, or the Little League has, or the hockey club has, your baskets are always everyone's favorite.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we appreciate that.
Thanks.
What else? Anything else you want to share with the public, with the Folsom City Lifestyle crew?
We love this little town. I was really excited when you launched this magazine. I thought this was great. Obviously, I live in Folsom, and our businesses were based here for up until 2 years ago for the longest time. So it was kind of bittersweet moving to Granite Bay, but they had the space that we needed. But we're still very connected to Folsom. And again, because I live here, my little boy plays sports here and all the things. And it's just a great town.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. And we absolutely claim you in Folsom. You're ours.
Well, I'm about to rejoin the chamber.
Good.
I was just with Phil and Evangeline Scott. And
two of my favorites.
I talk about community involvement. I mean, they're just amazing.
Oh, you'll see more of them in the next couple of issues.
Oh, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Phil, I said, okay, well, I was like, can I join the Folsom Chamber even though I'm in Granite Bay? And he's like, absolutely. And again, because we already are so connected with so many people like in the chamber and we do stuff, I was like, all right, get us back on the list and we'll start doing more events and things like that.
Yeah, that's good. It's funny you bring up those two because their contributions to the community are exactly the reasons Evangeline is featured in our ladies issue in May.
Oh, yay.
Sneak peek. And Phil actually is coming to a photo shoot on Sunday because he's going to be featured in our men's issue.
I mean, they're both some of my favorite people, but I just have such a soft spot for Phil. And I mean, he is Team Folsom, and they're just so giving and giving of money, giving of time, giving of themselves, giving of their children's time. Like, you name it, they're out there. I don't know if people know this about Phil, but him and his graffiti cleanup. Have you heard about that yet?
That is what pushed me over the edge. That is what I was like, I need to feature this man.
He drives around with paint in his car.
Unbelievable. I mean, talk about pride for where you live.
Yeah, so good choice with them.
Very good. Yeah, and I'm so happy to have spent this time with you and learn more about you. I feel like I learn something new and exciting every time I sit with you.
Well, thank you. And I mean, from one woman-owned business to another. Right? I was very excited when you launched this magazine, and we certainly wish you all the best.
Thank you. It's been a wild ride. We're about a year in now. June is going to be our 1 year anniversary. Oh, wow. Yep. So we'll start working on some party plans and that type of thing, but
awesome.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
Thank you.
But thank you for spending time with us today.
You're welcome.